This is Daily Armenia, ＳիվիլNeթ's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenia's second-largest city, Gyumri, and the Parakar community near Yerevan held local elections yesterday. In Gyumri, the ruling civil contract party's candidate Sadiq Minasyan won 36.8% of the vote, but fell short of a majority. Former Mayor Vardan Ghugasian, now running with the Communist Party, secured 20.7%. Two opposition alliances, My Powerful Community and Mother Armenia, earned 14.1% combined and may form a coalition with Ghugasian. However, they still need support from Martun Grigoryan's Our City Alliance to challenge Minasyan. Ghugasian faced criticism for using rhetoric linked to criminal subcultures and was recently arrested on firearms charges, which he claims was political pressure. Minasyan became caretaker mayor in December after the opposition-aligned mayor resigned amid corruption allegations. In Parakar, opposition candidate Volodya Grigoryan of the Unity Alliance won with 56.6% of the vote, defeating Civil Contract. The community's former civil contract mayor, Ludwig Gulnazaryan, resigned in November after being linked to a deadly shooting, but still received 31.5% of the vote. Election day saw reports of voter guidance issues, unauthorized individuals at polling stations, and security violations, according to the Ombudsman's office. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan congratulated the winners and urged investigations into reported misconduct. The Gyumri vote is seen as a key test for civil contract ahead of Armenia's parliamentary elections next year. Thousands of displaced Artsakh Armenians and their supporters gathered at Freedom Square in Yerevan on Saturday, demanding action from both the Armenian government and the international community. Organized by the Committee for the Protection of the Fundamental Rights of the Artsakh people, the rally focused on their right to return home and the urgent need for continued social support. If we left our homeland under the threat of extermination, it does not mean we have renounced our right to return, declared Geram Stepanyan, former human rights defender of Artsakh. The right of return is not a fantasy. It is a fundamental right that must be protected. In September 2023, following a 9-month blockade, Azerbaijan launched an attack on Nagorno-Karabakh, forcing around 100,000 Armenians to flee. Most sought refuge in Armenia, joining thousands displaced by the 2020 war. Stepanyan stressed that their struggle is not just about aid, but about justice. He said, characterizing this as a fight for social benefits is a failure of morality, while also warning that cutting assistance would drive many into poverty and exile. The Armenian government's monthly payment to refugees will decrease tomorrow from about $125 to $100 per person and will only be provided to specific categories of people, with a further decrease coming in July. The demonstrators presented a 12-point petition calling for legal action against Azerbaijan, international protection of Artsakh's heritage, and continued aid until repatriation is possible. They also demanded the release of at least 23 Armenian hostages still held in Azerbaijan. Rally organizers vowed to maintain their presence at Freedom Square and held a protest outside Armenia's Ministry of Labor today as well, asking the government to maintain the current level of assistance. They say demonstrations will continue throughout the week until the government provides an official response to their demands presented on Saturday. Armenia's defense ministry reported that early this morning, Azerbaijani forces opened fire on the village of Khnatsakh in Syunik, causing damage to a home. No injuries were reported, but photos released by the ministry show bullet holes in a window and walls. Azerbaijan, meanwhile, alleged that it was Armenia which had fired on its forces after making many similar and apparently baseless accusations against Armenia over many days a week ago. Armenia had denied those claims, while residents of multiple border settlements, including Khnatsakh, routinely reported hearing Azerbaijani gunfire throughout that period. For many months now, Yerevan has offered to set up a joint mechanism for investigating ceasefire violations, but has not received a response from Baku. Armenia called on Azerbaijan to investigate the shelling and provide public clarification on why it occurred. Have you seen the latest episode of Insights yet? In it, Eric Hakopian focuses on the issue of disinformation by Baku and the need for Armenians to be more critical before spreading such news. He gives recent examples of how Azerbaijan tries to control the narrative by purchasing articles in legitimate-sounding outlets and encourages Armenians to adopt a skeptical lens for all such news. You can find a link to the broadcast in this video's description. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.